Hello, my name is John Gunderson. I've been asked to speak about the right to vote. This is something that's been very fundamental to our democracy, and both Republicans and Democrats have largely agreed on the right to vote and the peaceful transfer of power. We've had a history of the expansion of the right to vote, of the franchise. And even though we are, as any democracy, we are flawed, history has gone towards justice. As Martin Luther King once said, the arc of history bends towards justice. I agree with this. Our founding fathers wrote two remarkable, rather revolutionary documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. However, these men, and they were men, of course, were also men of their times. And in 1789, the right to vote was limited to white male landholders. Happily, we've expanded that right. The 15th Amendment gave the vote to former slaves. The 19th Amendment gave the vote to women. The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. That was proposed by Richard Nixon, by the way. So we've had an expansion of the right to vote. And both Republicans and Democratic candidates have agreed to that. When you lose the election, you then congratulate the winner of the election. Clinton and Gore won the majority of votes, but they conceded to the eventual winners the next day. That's called sportsmanship. We tell our kids about that. They're winners, they're losers. When the other team wins, you congratulate them. You may not like what the ref said, but you congratulate them. That's what you do in human terms. What happened in 2020? Well, Donald Trump lost the election by 7 million votes, 76 electoral votes. Every court, every state legislature, every Secretary of State, from Republicans to Democrats, said that the election was free and fair. Trump's own Department of Justice said it was the most secure elections in history. What does Trump do? Well, he calls it the big lie. He has his followers storm the Capitol on January 6th to stop the elections. This is not what you do in a democracy. What do the Republicans do? Well, most of them know, at least the politicians know, that Trump lost. McConnell and McCarthy know that, and yet they refuse to have an independent commission look into this. When we have a national tragedy like 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or the Kennedy assassination, we do an investigation, nonpartisan, for lessons learned. They refuse to do this. What happens next? Well, in the last couple of months, many legislatures are proposing new measures to limit the right to vote. Gerrymandering, for example. So in the old days, people chose the politicians. Now it seems politicians are choosing the people who vote. Republicans and Democratic administrations or legislators have both done this, but now it is largely the Republican districts that do it. Some of these propose to limit mail-in ballots. Now, mail-in ballots were something Republicans used to advocate because they were mostly military ballots. Not anymore. Limit where you can vote, how you can vote, and maybe as troubling as limiting who can vote, you now determine who counts the vote. So instead of having independent monitors count the vote, we see in Arizona, in Georgia, and other places, you'll have politicians determining who should count the vote. It severely affects our democracy. So what do we do about it? Well, one thing we do is work actively locally to make sure the expansion of the franchise occurs. One thing I would also advocate, and I do this to both my liberal friends, conservative friends, talk to each other. Get outside your own box. And there are issues, not only in terms of the size and role of the government, the extent of the U.S. involvement overseas, but even contentious issues like academic freedom, immigration, and yes, race. Talk about that. There are Republicans who are conservative, very conservative, who have also challenge the Trump based on the right to vote and say the elections were fair, get over it. People like Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, talk to these people. You may not agree with them, but maybe you can come to some common solution. What about those who refuse to acknowledge the elections of 2020, even though they know that Biden won, McCarthy, McConnell, and others? And then there are the QAnon, the conspiracy types. Well, they're not going to change. So I say get involved locally, vote, get your friends to vote. I'm thinking of, for example, what courage is for a politician. I've been reading about the Declaration of Independence. And when our founding fathers signed that document, they were committing an act of treason, an act of sedition, punished against the most powerful empire of the world. The result for them could have been death, hanging, but they did it. Think of our politicians now. This takes no courage to tell the truth. So I say, vote these guys out of power, vote for expansion of the right to vote, a secure vote, and in the final analysis, by doing this, and pardon this expression, it'll make America great again. Thank you for your patience.